Consciousness. Consciousness is man's state of awareness. It is the capacity of the mind to know, and its knowing determines his capabilities along all lines. Man may be aware of that which is true, or he may develop in his mind a sense of awareness that has the semblance of reality, but which is entirely false. The truth or falsity of his estate is, therefore, dependent upon his state of awareness or his consciousness. Consciousness must be that which represents the highest attributes. It must be related to all high attributes. We carry our consciousness to God consciousness, wherein we are aware of all things, including ourselves, in the highest state. That is the state where we see through all conditions and all circumstances. As the masters say, the veil is then completely removed, the veil that hitherto seemed to exist between the mortal or physical and spirit. There is no limitation here. The mortal and physical conceptions are abandoned completely for the true spiritual. This spiritual consciousness does not exclude sense activity. True sense activity is included in the highest consciousness always. Sense activity in its rightful function is true spiritual activity. The senses, so-called, act in a limited manner only when not under the right determining influence. When activated by the spiritual facts, the senses function properly and are then said to be opened. The question is often asked, in what state of consciousness is the individual when in trance? Trance is only a partial expression of sense activity. We might just as well carry our consciousness to the true activity or completion always, and when this partial expression becomes one with true activity, we are never in trance, and we are never under any destructive, hypnotic condition. This same fact applies to what we commonly classify as subdivisions of consciousness. One should not attempt to classify consciousness, for it cannot be subdivided. It is one consciousness, and in that state we cannot think in terms of divisions or separations. The subdivisions are illusions, the same as illusionary trance. They are so subtle that they can be very deceptive to one who is not using higher discrimination. It is so much easier to see it all as one. The subdivisions originated with man. Man saw the subdivisions as attributes, when they are really not such at all. The thought of most teachers is possibly for clarity in conveying the message, but it is better for them always to make it one thing. Simplicity in the end is always the greatest clarity. The trouble with subdivisions is that they are almost always considered as attributes. It is better to keep our eye fixed on one. We get into negative conditions through using the subdivisions. They are nearly always symbolic, and most of our symbols represent the subdivisions of consciousness. That is another reason why symbols no longer suffice. It is well known today that we have worked through symbolism. As the masters say, we are in the pure light of day in consciousness. It becomes far simpler to have that consciousness, the complete light, as our aim without any subdivisions whatever. Take the matter of eating, digesting, assimilating, and the rebuilding of the body through the conversion of food into energy, muscle, bone, blood, teeth, hair, etc. Imagine that you worked out a theory that each one of these is a separate function to be dealt with individually, and that you had to determine with each meal just what portion of your food would be handled through each one of these particular functions, and just when each would function in turn. How could you escape confusion? The fact is, you recognize it as one process with many phases, and each one of these phases is a self-operative process within a single system. In a normal physical state, there is not a single phase of the entire system that functions independently, but every one of the various phases is but the working out of the single system. The body is only a symbol of the soul, or the man who lives within the body. That is, the body is a symbol of the workings of consciousness. To protect and determine that which enters into consciousness, which is through the control of one's attention, the entire system of consciousness is self-operative as a single system. There is not conscious, subconscious, superconscious, but just one radiant living consciousness of reality. This is the state of complete freedom from symbols and therefore from hypnosis. Some people become so interested in the psychic sense or the lower phases of consciousness that a complete earth life is given over to it to the extent that the true consciousness cannot manifest. The best solution is to simply let go of it and become one with the whole. This is what Paul inferred when he said, "Reckon ye yourself to be dead unto sin, but alive unto God." The difference is in clear knowing and influenced knowing. Clear vision is what clairvoyance intends to convey, but the commonly accepted meaning of clairvoyance is partial or clouded viewing, seeing only in part. There can be certain relative phenomena brought into existence through clairvoyance and clairaudience as practice, or any of the 5 divisions of consciousness, but they can never be or lead to the whole. You see, they may become false, and under a manifestation of these conditions, we may get a false concept completely, which I usually refer to as a negative concept. When we stand one with the whole, we cannot be either negative or false. It should be clear knowing of truth itself. We cannot reach that state of knowing or that one consciousness through mediumship or any other form of hypnosis. All are distinctly detrimental to spiritual unfoldment. In that high sense, all senses become one. They all become one in perfect coordination. Our senses coordinate absolutely, and every part and cell of our bodies coordinate and vibrate in unison. One great trouble with these other conditions is that we are likely to have one member of the body vibrating in the wrong field, and then the new cells do not attach themselves properly to the organ to which they belong. Each cell that is created represents the organ to which it will attach itself. If one cell gets out of the vibratory field in which it belongs, it may attach itself to the wrong organ, and then you have a discordant condition. This discord is often extremely intensified by the various occult methods of concentration upon the physical centers or organs. This practice only superimposes a hypnotic state more definitely into the manifest form, and greater confusion results. In the first place, hypnosis is only a function of a partial consciousness, or a specialized consciousness in some particular form or direction. Therefore, the more diversified the field and departmental the consciousness, the more hypnotic it becomes. And to willfully work in subdivisions and phases of consciousness would be the most definitely hypnotic in influence. The attention should always be directed into the whole, into complete oneness, and then the distribution of vibratory energy is carried on through the mechanism of consciousness just as it is in the body. Then there is perfect synchronization or harmony throughout the entire organism.